Wow, Marcy, that was so fun. I'm just still buzzing from Dr. Raymont. He just makes me
Yeah.
so happy. He's so happy and he's so inspiring to just get different perspective. Of course, we're talking about the holidays, and I learned a
Mhm.
new term which I'm going to use, which is thanks living. so so tune in
That's
for
a
that one. Yeah.
that's a Reverend Dr. Ray term.
Yes.
Yes, I love him. He's just one of the brightest lights on the planet right now. He's doing such good work. As I said in the podcast, people should follow him. You will learn so much, and I think it's a great episode. We did go into the 7 values of Kwanzaa, and he explained a little bit about each one and gave the pronunciations. That was lovely. If you'd like to learn a little bit about Kwanzaa, which is a beautiful way to spend the week between Christmas and New Year's. And also, I do want to have a little bit of a trigger warning. We are going to talk about suicide a little bit. The holidays are not easy for everyone. So take care of yourself. But I hope you'll join us for this conversation.
The world is a lot right now. Are you feeling it? We all need new tools to help us walk through the chaos with grace, ease, and compassion for each other and for ourselves. In this podcast, you'll hear from parents, educators, and other experts who can bring perspective to the monumental job of parenting. It's time to level up and be warriors for our kids and our communities. This is the Warrior Parent Podcast. I'm Marci Mitchell.
And I'm Debbie DiManno. As parents, we understand that it really does take a village to raise our kids. We hope that this podcast serves to create and support that community for you. Join us as we discuss and practice our core tools, which are proven mind-body techniques that can be used by anyone to improve your life on a daily basis.
Welcome back to the Warrior Parent Podcast, everyone. We are so grateful you're joining us this December, the last month of 2024, and it's been a year. So we're going to talk about some joyful things today, and I'm excited about that. And our returning guest is the very wonderful Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, who is a friend of this podcast, someone I've been following for years, just a bright, wonderful light in the world today. He is a true Imagineer, and he brings many years of being a professional educator, visual artist, performer, ASL interpreter, author, and lover of comics and films to all areas of his life and his ministry, which for him extends beyond the church or the center. He's an ordained Center for Spiritual Living minister and serves as the founding minister and spiritual director of the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, which is the Center for Spiritual Living Teaching Center. He is both a frequently sought after guest minister and speaker at various churches and centers and events, and a frequently requested facilitator of seminars and workshops related to such things as radical and audacious self care, love that, living with purpose, also amazingly important, grief, forgiveness, LGBTQ empowerment, in exploring and expressing one's creativity, and more. So, in addition to all of this, until very recently, he served as the co lead and as the interfaith lead for his local Moms Demand Action chapter. As a survivor of gun violence, he also participated in the Every Town Survivor Fellowship program. So, what a huge list of accomplishments and such a wide variety of beautiful experiences. We're so happy to have you here, Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson.
And as always, I am honored to be with you both. Thank you for that. Every time I hear that bio, it's like, wow, what in the world?
Wow.
Like,
What
how
in
did I,
the
why? Because it's like, for real, there are times when I feel like, you travel the yellow brick road and that turned into a different road and a different road. And it's like Oz is way over there. And
Yep.
like, okay, how did I get here? So,
Yeah.
Flying
but yeah,
monkeys are coming
right,
in on your flank.
right, right. And then there's the elephants, and it's like,
Oh,
what? Yes, yes. But yeah, it's great to be with you both, especially to talk about what we're going to talk about today in light of all that is going on in the hearts, the minds, and the souls of people this time of year,
Yeah.
yes,
especially right now this year.
Yeah.
yes,
Well,
yes.
Yeah.
I just want to say, if you're all tuning in on audio, you need to go to YouTube because he is about as colorful as you're gonna get. His background, like you just have to see Dr. Ray.
Yes,
Because
he is a beautiful man and his light is shining out. So we're so grateful to have him. Yes.
so anyway, this is one of my favorite conversations just because we love you so much. But the holidays, and Marcy and I decided like to pick this topic. Of course, we've been through Thanksgiving and more holidays coming. And I think the holidays aren't exactly always a happy time for a lot of people. In fact, I think there's a lot of people who dread the holidays. My husband's one of them. Marcy, I don't know if you knew that, but he don't
I
like the
didn't.
holidays that much. Like he just wants to go to work and like all this silly
Okay,
stuff.
I
It's
can
too
see
much
that.
for him. So yeah. But anyway, we do know that this can be a rough, a difficult time. We also know that suicide rates are as high as they can be during this time. And we also know that there's a lot of family displacement, especially in lieu of what we've just all gone through. So speak to that a little bit. I think if someone's listening and they're like, yeah, I'm not listening to that podcast because I'm not into the holidays, maybe we could share some wisdom with them about how we could make it a little easier for them. You got any ideas?
Oh, there's a few of them roaming around in my
Okay.
cranium right now.
O-
So, like
okay.
for me, one of the first things that comes up is the reminder that, like, when I have conversations with people about the holidays and like what the dread and the angst is, apart from the grief of holidays reminding people of family and friends who have made their transition, apart from that,
Yes.
the
Yes.
aspect of the holidays, it's the busyness of. It's not a time of rest, relaxation, celebration, and family. It's a time of I got to go here, I got to buy this, I got to click this, I got to do this, I got to wait coupon for this, and it's okay. I got to get the tree up, get the tree down, get the tree lit, get the house lit, get the balloons puffed. It's all of that, and it's overwhelming.
Sure is.
Yes.
So
Yes.
for me, because Thanksgiving used to be I hated it. And it was mostly
Oh,
because of the family trauma that I grew up with.
Mm, yeah.
And then I reached a point where I said, wait, time out, time out. I'm 112 right now, and I get to choose, like for real, I get to choose how I'm going to show up.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yes.
wait a minute, pause. Do I have to do Christmas the way the marketing capitalist ideology of, do I have to? And I don't have to.
No.
Nope.
Wait a minute. Do I have to do Thanksgiving if I really don't want to spend time with these people? Do I have to? I feel obligated to. Well, pause, check in with that. Do I
Yeah.
have to? No.
Mm-mm.
And when we get to that space of we can be empowered in it, it starts to change how not
Mm,
only how we show up for it, but how it shows up for us.
That
yes.
is so true. So
Pro
important. Yeah.
profound. Profound.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love that idea. We have traditions, and some
Mhm,
traditions are nice and fun and uplifting, and some
mhm,
traditions are frankly just not uplifting or good for us. And
mhm.
so we can throw those traditions that don't serve us, that aren't uplifting, that don't feel good out, and and that's okay. That's progress, that's change, that's moving forward, deciding what's for you and what's not. And I love that. I love the idea of reinventing the holidays in a model that works for you and for your family and for the people that you love.
Just the
It's
term, like if we start there, holidays etymology is holy days, which,
Hmm.
regardless of one's religious or spiritual affiliation, what does it for me? It would be, what does this mean for me to connect with that part of me that is sacred and divine? How do I
Hmm.
now show up with family and friends with that as that for self and and them? And now, how do we build whatever this celebration is going to be, whether it's Thanksgiving, which I even tweaked and said, you know what? I don't want to do Thanksgiving for a variety of reasons, the way it's normally in the pilgrims and I'm not doing all that.
No,
For
thank
me,
you.
it's Thanksgiving. How can I
Mm,
live my gratitude? How can I
yeah.
live that? So
mm,
it's not even a matter of saying thank you to someone, although I will, but can I show my gratitude embodied? Well, let's do the same thing for whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or New Year's or whatever it is.
Hmm.
How can my sacredness, my love, my joy, my self-worth be brought into this? And how does it uplift me and those that I'm spending my time with,
Yeah.
rather than a price tag of a new TV and a new whatever?
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
That reminded me, you were talking about like how you show up for the holiday. I mean, Marcy and I have just had several conversations with people who are having difficulty in relationships, for example. Same thing is true. If you're imagining yourself changing your piece of that, looking inward at yourself and how you're showing up in that relationship, then that relationship has a potential to change. So that's just a
Mhm,
small example of exactly what you just said. I've never thought about
mhm, mhm,
it that
mhm,
way, but man, do I love it. It's going to be Thanksgiving for me from now
Yes.
on.
and Debbie, you just reminded me of, so you know the movie Jerry Maguire.
Mhm.
Yes.
There's that line that so many people in loving joy of weddings and engagements have
Right.
quoted, "You complete me." Boop, time
Yes.
out, pause. No, because right there, just that idea sets up an entirely codependent, people-pleasing ideology of
Yep.
hurt and harm rather than how can I show up as my full expression and complete self
Yes.
in joyful, ecstatic connection with you in that same space. Because then, whatever we're creating as holidays, as celebrations, as just dinner time, it's a completely different, meaningful experience.
Mm. Mm.
Yes. Yes.
A conscious way to be like in
Mhm,
through the holidays, right? When everyone is just out of their minds right now. Just being in your car in a parking lot right now
mhm,
is
right?
taking your life in your hands. People are completely unconscious, even
Mhm,
more than they are normally. Like
mhm,
completely unconscious. I'm
mhm.
sorry, Marcy, what were you gonna say? I cut you off.
Oh, I know you love to quote movies and you have that and so it's but I find it and it's probably a side comment, but it's so interesting how it sort of shows what's going on in society at a time, and then a few years later we can look back and go, it's that, when you know better, you do better. You look back and you go, oh, that wasn't such a great thing they said after all, or that thing that
Mhm,
used to be. And that's okay too. Like, it's
mhm.
okay to
Right, right,
reassess. It's okay to
right.
say, oh, I used to say this. I don't say that anymore because now I understand that it is
Yes,
harming these people, or that it really isn't in my values. So that,
yes.
and that's
Yes.
still a great movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, yeah, yes. And
And
I remind
yes,
people, like, whatever it is, okay, so since we are now in the era of Wicked as the movie, and
yes,
people are
yes.
reflecting back about, well, you do know that the original author Frank Baum, the Wizard of Oz, it's very racist if you read the original text.
Mm,
Yes, very much so. So it's not about staying. Once again, the tradition. It's not about staying. It's about recognizing this is where I am right now.
hmm.
I'm a 5-year-old who is sitting in kindergarten and I eat paste. Okay, that's where you are right now. Where you are right now. Hopefully, that's not
Loving
where you're
it,
going to be.
loving
Right?
it.
It's not where you're going to be at 55. We pray, but it's where you are now. And then
Yes,
you move, and then oh, now I'm
yes,
doing 2 plus 2, and now I'm doing 2 times 2, and now I'm doing
yes.
A divided by Q. And but I honor and respect where I was.
Hmm.
We can
Yes.
look at the movie and say, yes, as a movie, it's a good movie. It's the craftsmanship, the lighting, the all of it was very well done. The acting was superb, and
Yeah,
some of the consciousness, some of the paradigms that it expresses, we could have a discussion about.
Yes.
Very
yes,
much so. Same thing
absolutely,
with the holidays.
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So Marcy, really wanted to have this discussion to talk about inclusion, right? So, Marcy and I grew up, Christian, her in the Catholic Church, like we had the whole thing. We don't do that anymore, but that's not here nor there. But
We don't
but
do that
anyway,
anymore.
yeah, but I love this idea. Like, why are we not like going out and trying to participate in someone else's holiday. Like, talk about expansion, which we were just talking about, expanding your consciousness about the world and how the world might see the holidays differently, right? Like, why don't we do that? What's wrong with this? Right? What are we so scared of? I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you really
That's
just answer that question?
I just
Yes.
said
That
that.
right,
I said
that's
that,
a whole
sorry.
episode in and of itself.
Yeah,
What are
oh
we
really
yeah,
scared of?
is.
okay. That'll be February.
I mean, so wow. I think it's fascinating that, and we could talk about this in so many different ways. So when I first moved to Washington, D.C. in 2003, you get to see all the sites. The Washington Monument is there, the Jefferson Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial, like all of these things, Washington, D.C. And people come from Tibet and Japan and everywhere in the world to sightsee.
Yeah.
And as I started to make friends and whatnot in Washington, D.C., there were so many people who were born and raised in Washington, D.C., never been to the White House, never been to any of the Smithsonian museums, nothing. They stay in their comfort zone. We get comfortable in our holidays and we
Yes.
stay there. We get comfortable in our neighborhoods and we stay there. We are comfortable in our languaging and we stay there. And
Yes.
the xenophobia that
Mhm.
stirs up for a variety of reasons, it's the very thing that prevents us from getting to know you, getting to know more about you, no matter who the person is. Like really
Right.
getting into, I don't have to be Catholic to visit a Catholic service and or with a Catholic friend. I don't have to be Jewish to go, I don't have to be Muslim to, I don't have to be. If the
Yes.
space is open and welcoming to visitors and guests, then why not avail myself of the opportunity to be in celebration? Because that's what it is. I don't have to
Yeah.
go to, I don't believe in Jesus and I don't want to go
Yeah.
there where they're going to worship Jesus. You're going there in celebration of, that's it. You're going there out of honoring and respecting the other. That's what it is. Because if we did that
Mhm.
more, we would not be where we are as a country right now or planet.
Yes.
Right. Right. Because it when we embrace our oneness and the fact that yes, we're all one. It just because we don't celebrate December 25th the same way or other
Hmm.
days, the
Hmm.
more we can do to see each other's humanity, to revel in it, to enjoy it, to see the
Hmm.
wonderful, try the foods
Yes.
and the new rituals and all the
Yes.
things that don't harm others, but that are uplifting, the better we are.
Like I told somebody, I asked them, what kind of bread do you eat? And they were like, whatever it was, Wonder Bread or whatever it was. And I said, have you ever stopped to think about how many different ways or how many different kinds of bread there are? And why are there so many different ways to make bread? I mean, there's all kinds of sourdough bread. Like there's all, the
Yes.
numbers are without measure. And then
Yes.
when you think about various cultures that make bread differently, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
huh. And yet in there is the opportunity or the invitation to say, this is how I do bread.
Yeah.
Marci, how do you do bread? I've never had bread that way.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Let's break bread together.
Yeah.
Debbie, how do you? Oh, wow, that's different than both of us. You say
Yeah.
yours has garlic in it. What? And we break bread together.
Yeah.
How is that any different than, once again, celebrating the oneness, the unity, the harmony of what it means to be a human being?
Yeah.
Agreed. And just because I don't care for rye bread doesn't mean that I don't want anyone else to have rye bread. Like some
Right.
people love rye bread. So that's
Exactly.
the other thing. Like there's lots of breads because there's lots of people and everybody can
Mm-hmm.
choose their own bread. And why
Mm-hmm.
would someone try to tell you what bread to eat?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Marcy tells me that you are a Kwanzaa expert, and I'm going to be straight up honest. I don't know the first thing about it. So here I am eating my own bread, usually sourdough, but I want to try some of your bread, Dr. Ray. So so tell me about Kwanzaa. And I don't know that you necessarily practice Kwanzaa, but I do know you know a lot about it. So inform
Yeah,
some
yeah.
of our guests. I imagine a lot of
Make
people
sure,
listening don't know much about it.
let's make sure they understand. I am not an expert. Let us make sure. Okay, so
Yeah.
several years ago, I did actually practice Kwanzaa, and so I do know some stuff about it. I don't practice it the same way now. I don't practice any holidays the same way now that I used to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But just
That's growth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to work for me.
Yeah.
It has to work for me.
Yes.
And a lot of the ways that I grew up doing holidays, like, it really
No
doesn't work.
longer
It's not
works.
healthy.
Yeah.
Um, so let's see, where do we start? So I guess officially, if we were going to start, the Swahili way of saying Happy Kwanzaa is Heri za Kwanzaa. That's the start. Heri za Kwanzaa.
Heri za Kwanzaa.
And if
Nice.
we were greeting, we were practicing Kwanzaa and we were greeting one another, then we would say Habari Gani, which is Swahili for what's up, what's the news, what's in the news. To which
Say that one again.
Habari Gani.
Marigani.
Gani.
Nice.
And the response typically would be there are 7 principles, 1 principle for each of the days. The response typically would be whatever that principle for that day is. So,
Nice. Nice.
just basic history. In 1966, Dr. Karenga created Kwanzaa as a way of unifying African American and Pan-African traditions and history and values, community culture, etc. And so rather than saying this is a replacement for Christmas or Hanukkah, he was like, no, it's not a replacement. It's in addition to. So someone who does Christmas can also do. Someone who does Hanukkah can also, like, it's the opportunity to do both and rather than either or.
Hey, we just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about something very exciting that Debbie and I and our team have been working on for literally years. And that is our Core Tools app, which is now available at the Google Play Store and at the Apple Store. And you can sign up for it now and you will get access to all the tools we've been talking about on the podcast.
And if you're an early adopter of Core Tools, you can get a VIP price for $49 for a lifetime. That's
lifetime.
Right.
Buy it once and we'll keep updating it too.
Yes. So we're super excited about this. Go to Apple Store, go to Google Play, and purchase it now.
Core Tools, COUR, capital TOOLS.
Go get it. So what are the principles? What are the 7 principles that you speak of?
So the 7 principles starting on December 26th. First principle would be, you want me to say what the principle is and what it means?
Yes,
sure.
please. Yes.
So principle number 1 would be umoja. Well, first, the title for it, the 7 principles, is the Nguzo Saba. Nguzo Saba. And principle number 1 is umoja, which means unity. Principle number 2, kujichagulia, which means self-determination. Principle 3, ujima, which is collective work and collective responsibility or collective accountability of the community.
Love that.
Ujama, collective or cooperative economics, which is when you support, like within the community, it would be supporting Black-owned businesses, etc.
So giving back.
Followed by Nia, which is purpose. Kumba, which is creativity. And then it ends off with Imani, which is faith.
That's beautiful. This is what I love about Kwanzaa. First of all, I love that it was intentionally created. And so, we talked about tradition and things like Christmas that have over thousands of years been sometimes manipulated to do a certain thing. They have this piece, and then we brought some paganism in because we want those guys over here, which is all fine, but someone didn't sit down necessarily at once and say, what would be a beautiful way to spend these days between Christmas Day and New Year's? And so it's intentional, and I love that. And then I love the values. The values are beautiful, and it's a practical way to focus on these important values each day. Share that with your children, share that with your family. I mean, this is how we want to raise our kids, is with values. Debbie and I have been talking about values all the time, and how everybody has values, and you can be very intentional about your values, and you can do the work to figure out what does matter to me, what do I value, or you can just kind of show up, and what you value might kind of start to show in the way you're behaving, and may or may not be how you want to show up. So to be intentional and then to focus on what you truly value. Like when you
Mm-hmm.
think, why am I here on the planet? Because I know
Mm-hmm.
it's not to make money. I know it's not to have a cool car. I know it's not to give the best present at Christmas or to have the best tree or whatever. What is it? Why am I here? And then
Yeah.
what are my values? Yeah,
And
go
I was going
ahead.
to say, what you just said, that ties directly into the second principle, Kujichagulia, self-determination, because the idea
Mhm.
is, how do we define ourselves? How do we name ourselves? How do we
Yes.
create for ourselves this container and this atmosphere where we get to speak up like what is true for us
Yes.
versus what has been told or
Yes.
indoctrinated into us?
Yeah. So
Exactly.
that's what we're
Exactly.
feeling right now, especially during this time. People have, well, first of all, I think most people have no idea even what their values are. I think they haven't taken 10 minutes to figure it out. They're living someone else's values. It's their parents, their grandparents, like whoever, right? But to stop and think, just do some work, read a book and find out like
Mhm.
what is it that's important to me? And I feel like if you don't know that, how can you function in this world? How can you be in
Mhm.
relationships? How can you be in places of leadership? How can you thrive? You just couldn't because you don't
Mhm.
even know. As my daughter
Mhm.
came home a few weekends after graduating from college, says, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, okay.
Wow.
So she's taking the time and she's figuring it out, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yes, she's but anyway, I think at this point in life, everyone should be getting a pretty good shaking and wondering who the hell am I? Sorry,
Yes.
it's the holiday,
Yes.
but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm with you 1000%. And I think that's one reason why Dr. Karenga, like he got very intentional about, so how are these holidays, like looking at the African American community
Hmm.
and identifying like where are people getting lost in when you're losing who you are because you're buying into whatever this is. This concept, the general concept is black isn't beautiful.
Mm.
White is right and black is vilified, no matter what it is. The black cat vilified, the 8 ball vilified, all of these things, the
Bad
wicked witch,
guy, good guy. Yeah.
right? All of so like looking at that, and he said, no, 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 no. We have to do something that's going to help people come back to the power of their ancestry and the power of their
Yes.
self-determination and purposeful looking at what values will stoke this, what values will nurture this, what values will build this for people to then take it into their lives. So it was
Hmm.
very intentional. And even if we looked at, there are values related to Christmas, if we really dissect it,
Yeah.
but it's not presented as that. The
Mm-mm.
number one value connected to Christmas overall is as the machine. How much did you spend for my gift?
Yeah.
Oh, that's dreadful.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Consumerism. Yeah.
No,
it's that.
that's
Like
dreadful.
when we really look at the
Oh,
value of it's about giving the gift. Well, let's trace it back to, like Marcy said, let's trace it back to even with the paganism. Let's trace it all the way back to
Yeah.
it goes all the way back to a manger with a little kid where the 3 wise men brought gifts and other people
Right.
brought gifts. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what it traces back to. But it wasn't about the gift. It was about them celebrating and honoring this divine being. Well,
Right.
am I doing that in this gift? I just bought you some lotion. Yes, because your hands are ashy. But wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Are you buying this because you want me to say thank you? And it's like, oh, you're about to. Or are you
Yeah.
buying this and gifting me this because you are honoring and celebrating me? Like, which one is that? So there
Right.
are values in there, but we
Yeah.
have lost sight because we've been conditioned to focus
Hmm.
on this other stuff, this dysfunctional stuff, because it
yeah.
lines a certain group of people's pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah. Even Santa
ouch.
Claus, this guy who's
Mhm.
like, the good kids and the bad kids. And
Mhm.
how did you behave? Are you worthy of a
Better watch
gift?
out.
I mean, that's some pretty dark stuff for our kids,
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
And,
And I was
go
just gonna
ahead.
say, and if we look at like Hanukkah, within the culture, the traditions, the values are very much there. Like they
Yes,
Yeah.
really focus on that
for sure.
Yes.
throughout the entire celebration because it's about the connection and that sacredness. Why do we not have that with everything else?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I love the idea of making things sacred, making
Mhm,
things that are ordinary sacred, because
mm,
if that's how you want to live your life, and that is a value for me, is to live my life in a sacred way,
mhm,
then everything can be sacred, and just like meeting someone and not just, you know, quickly, hi, I'm so and so, thinking
mhm,
about what you're going to ask them, wondering if I'm going to forget their name, but like holding the hand, looking in the eyes and say, I'm so glad you're here, and
mhm,
really seeing a person for a moment, that feels transformative. And
mhm, mhm,
yeah, we talk about in the CSLs and in the New Thought churches about making things into meditation. Washing the dishes, and you're in meditation.
mhm,
Your gratitude for the things you have. So
Mhm.
there's in every instant of your life, there's opportunities to make something sacred, to be intentional about it, and to
mhm,
really, yeah, just to really show up in that way that you really chose. This is what I value. And this is how I want to shine my light on the planet. And
Yeah.
it transforms your day.
So, he's having a thought. I better let him go. Don't lose it. Don't lose.
I'm tempted to say
Go ahead,
something.
say
Uh-oh.
it. Someone wants you to say it.
So, and this sort of ties into the question Debbie asked earlier. For me, having been someone who was chronically depressed,
Mhm,
self-loathing, self-hating,
mhm,
like I used to literally pray every night that the God of my understanding then would kill me in my sleep because
mhm,
I hated my life, my family, I hated everything so much that I was like, please, could you just let this end tonight? Please,
mhm,
please.
Wow. Wow.
And it wasn't until, and there's still moments when stuff like that comes up, but it didn't transform until what Marci just said. When I was able to take my grief, my trauma, the depression, and hold it as sacred.
mhm,
And
Mm.
in holding it as sacred and saying, this isn't the enemy. This isn't it. It feels
Yeah.
bad, but it isn't bad. It is simply showing me that there is something deeper beneath the surface of the soil that is causing this plant to show up.
Yes.
The thorns hurt, and yes, and there's blood, and yes, if I want a different garden, then I have to go to the root. Am I
Yes.
willing to go to the root? And I
mhm,
think that's the reason why most people, my experience, don't shake the person's hand, look them in the eye, and really meet them person to person. Because to really do that means I have to have done it here. And we
Yes.
have been
It's
so
always an inside
disconnected from
job.
our
It's one
own
of my
selves,
my famous line. Right?
right? Like we've
Yes.
been
yeah,
so disconnected from ourselves
Yes.
yeah,
that it's almost painful to then try to
mm,
connect heart to heart, mind to mind, soul to soul with another.
Yeah.
yeah. It comes back to that. It comes back to that self-love, that self-care, that knowing that you are worthy, and finding your joy and your light, and accepting that. And that's hard when you're not there.
Hmm.
I don't mean
That's
to say it's easy. It's something, it feels simple in that it's a simple concept, but there's nothing easy about it.
Oh no, it took me several years to
yeah.
move
Mhm.
through. Yeah, yeah.
I'm I'm a work in progress still, for
Yeah,
sure.
we lots of times this is like we come into it later.
And
I
I
was
think
doing my
that's the
best back
gift
then.
of the
Yeah,
holidays is because
yeah,
it gives us the opportunity to come together with someone else who might be able to just be with us in the space of, I don't know who I am anymore. And just
mhm,
be in the space of, well, who do you want to be?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait. Like I get to choose who I want.
Mm.
Yes.
What a
And in
concept.
choosing who you want to be, you get to choose what you're going to do.
Wow. So back to this holiday thing, so much of it is created around these traditions. And I
Mhm.
think, at least for Marcy and I, we're kind of talking about like, let's break out of some of these
Mhm.
traditions, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so I want to hear from you, like what you've done to break tradition and maybe create some new ones. Maybe people are looking for some ideas about how to break free from the nonsense of the holiday.
So for me, I just because
Well,
I'm like I've gotten to a space where I'm extremely radical. Like I told you, Thanksgiving, because for me, even if we were to say Valentine's, it's like why do I have to wait for a specific day in a specific
yeah.
month to buy flowers or candy or tell some,
Yeah.
I should be able to do the concept of Valentine's in the middle of March. I should be able to do
Yeah.
it on Halloween if I like why, but we focus in on why because the marketing related to,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
there's all of it. So anyhow,
Yes.
I laugh
Amen.
because I'm very radical in inventing and just making up stuff completely that other people would look and say, that
Say
you said
what?
this is Christmas?
Yes.
I'm confused. I don't.
Yeah.
So I always start with what is the feeling that I want this to nourish and nurture within me?
Mm-hmm.
And
Hmm.
we'll just say this year for Thanksgiving, my theme was compassion, self-compassion,
Hmm.
love, and self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Now, that being what the values, that being the thing I want to feel and experience, what structures do I have to put in place that are going to create this? So
Yes.
whether it's food, okay, I don't want to do the traditional turkey the way everyone else does or cranberry sauce or whatever. You know what? If it's about what I said, compassion, love, self-worth, blah, 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 then I get to choose which foods do that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And if no one else would say, well, wait a minute, you can't do chicken or you can't whatever. You can't
Right.
do tofurkey. You can't, that's not real. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's I get to choose exactly what it is. Same thing for Christmas, Hanukkah,
Hmm.
Kwanzaa, New Year's. I always start with what is it that I want to feel like if this is sowing seeds, this holiday, this opportunity is sowing seeds in my life, which becomes in the world, then what do I need? What am I invited to put into place that is going to
Yes.
have that grow in the garden of my life and in the world? And
Yes.
so sometimes
I
I'll do a
love
tree,
that.
sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
I like that idea of having a theme for it because I find, especially in these years, and I'm in my last few years of my 50s, I find that this at Thanksgiving, for instance, that I feel a little different every year about. And so there was one year about, I don't know, 15 years ago, my husband and I both looked at each other and we said, turkey. Am I right? We just were kind of over it. And so we said, okay, we're not making turkey this year. We're going to make, and we were hosting, and we're going to make this cream of mushroom soup that we adore that is like to die for. And so we made that, and it was like this big radical thing. And then more later, I was like, oh, I guess you really can do what you want.
Hmm.
But I never had the theme. I love the idea of the
Yeah.
theme where it's like, where am I this year? Because we're different, somewhere different every year, right? And some years
Yes.
I might want to cook up a storm, and some years, like this year, I think I overdid cooking, and afterwards I was like, why did I do that? And if I had been more mindful and thought about a theme before, if I was thinking of a theme, it wouldn't have been like potatoes 7 ways, because that's kind of where we ended up,
Right, right. I hear
which is
you. I hear
great.
you.
I love potatoes, but I didn't
Hmm.
want to spend the whole day cooking, peeling.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
the idea of giving it like, where am I? What matters to me now? And this, I don't know. I
Hmm.
think this holiday season, you know, the beginning of this month or the beginning of November started a certain way and ended a different way. So, a lot of us, I think, were feeling
Yeah.
exhausted and grief and
Hmm. Hmm.
sad and
Yeah.
broken and tired. So I don't think
Well,
I honored that in myself. I
Right,
just started peeling potatoes instead. And
right, 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 right.
now I'm being mindful of it. But
yeah. So
yeah.
I think, part of it maybe, it's breaking a tradition, right? You imagine that everyone's sort of counting on that tradition. So for
Hmm.
example, this year it was going to be a small group. Normally I have 20 or 30 people and I cook for all of them and I wash all the dishes and I do all the things. But It turned out that it was going to be a small group. And I told my daughter, I think we're going out. And she had this look like, is there something wrong with you? Are you sick? Like, and everyone's like, you don't do that, do you? Like,
Yeah.
in 30, 40, 50 years, I have never done that. And man, did that feel good. That felt so
Mm-hmm.
good.
Uh-huh.
I can't even tell you. I'm like, I
Yeah.
just cruised through that holiday. Like, okay, I'm ready for the next one. But there's a little piece of me that felt a little bit guilty about breaking
Right.
tradition. So I think there is something to be said for that though, too, right? Because some people sort of count on that, having a little tradition, right? So maybe finding some sort of happy medium or creating new, maybe healthier traditions, but just being clear about what you're trying to do. Or just be clear about the fact that, you know what, I'm tired this year and I'm taking
Mm-hmm.
care of myself and I can't
Yeah.
cook. And maybe next
Mm-hmm.
year, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
having some flexibility. But man.
I think even there, having that conversation with oneself. So whether it's to Marci's point about, a theme, and the theme could be something as simple as, okay, it's Thanksgiving, quote unquote. What am I truly thankful for?
Mhm.
Beyond the things that we normally would say, I am so thankful for this meal, and I'm
Yeah.
thankful that grandma cooked it, and I'm thankful that
Yeah.
beyond I mean,
Yes.
really, what am I thankful? And then to if people are gathered, Debbie, I am grateful and thankful to you, for you, regarding Marci. I am grateful and thankful and like tag, you're it. Thankful, appreciation, and
Yes.
gratitude
Yeah.
for you because of. And then myself, what am I thankful, appreciative, and grateful for me? Like even
Yeah.
starting with something as simple as really diving into what do these words mean and what does it do for us? But this idea of tradition, what does that word mean? And does it have to mean this ritualistic thing that's done over and over and
Yeah.
over to such a
Yeah.
point where we've now forgotten the meaning of it
Yeah.
because
Exactly.
the doing of it has become the tradition rather than
Right.
the meaning. So
Yes.
once again, it's like, yes, because we're going to have traditions, we're going to have habits
Yeah.
and rituals. That's normal. But it's a matter of what is the most authentic way. It's like the book, The Untethered Soul.
Mm.
Like a companion would be the untethered holiday. Like, how do we break
Yes.
free from
Yeah.
the meaningless,
Yeah.
non-life affirming traditions and rituals, and then
Yes.
reconnect to rituals that mean, rituals that stir and foster love and
Yeah.
connectivity and unity, rather than
Right.
why am I always the one washing the dishes? I did the cooking.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
y'all, oh, you don't watch the football game and go to sleep now. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then we're right here again next year and the year after that and the year after that.
Yep.
Exactly.
Like that, what does
Yes.
that do for us other
Yeah.
than rob us?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So
Like it's
getting
time to.
intentional about it, checking in, and then letting go the things that aren't uplifting, that aren't filling us and serving us. And like Debbie was saying about some things that are important to some people. Well, sometimes they might be the ones who are going to carry the water and and
Mm-hmm,
and chop the wood for that thing. Like if it's
right.
important to you, that's great. If green bean casserole is really important to you, I would love for you to make it and bring it. And
Yeah.
that would be great. And now
Yep.
it's not my lift, it's
Yeah.
yours. And I'll celebrate with you.
Yeah.
So
Right. Like why
Wow.
couldn't that be part of the tradition that if there is a favorite dish that you have,
yeah,
bring it to
bring
share
it.
with everyone else.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Like for me, it's gotten to the point where I want all of the holidays, all of the celebrations, I want to feel the excitement approaching it. And during it and after, I want to have been left with renewed energy rather than
Yeah.
depleted energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for
Yes.
me, once again, it's how do I do that? If I know
Yeah.
that that's what I want Christmas or Kwanzaa
Yeah.
or anything
Yeah.
to New Year's, whatever, if I know that that's what I want it to leave me with,
Yeah.
then let me reverse engineer it and say, so
Exactly.
what's the blueprint that's going to build that house?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to say
So
my heart
smart.
my heart was full and I was not exhausted. Like I thought I had to be exhausted for my heart to be full, but I didn't,
Nice.
turns out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Ray, we could go on for days with you, but I know you're going to come back to us at some point and have another discussion. But
So much to talk about.
I am
Always.
so grateful for you.
Yeah.
Likewise.
And thank you for showing up for us again.
Let's
My
talk a
pleasure.
little
Anytime.
bit about where people can find Dr. Ray, because he's got a lot of stuff to share. And the way that I first found him was on Facebook. I ended up following him. I highly recommend you follow him on his social media. He's on Facebook, Raymont Anderson, and also on Instagram and on YouTube. And that's how I first learned some of that about Kwanzaa. Was he was sharing the values each day, and so there would be one value, and then you could read what it was about. So that was really lovely. But he has got a ton of fantastic content. He calls himself radical. I think radical is good. I think radical is what we need right now. So if you want to learn, if you want to grow, if you want to do the work, if you want to push yourself out of your comfort zone and learn more, and maybe instead of just being defensive about new ideas, saying, okay, let me hear it, Reverend Dr. Ray is a wonderful person to bring that to you. So follow him and share this episode. And
Amen.
and then also you're every Sunday they can probably, are you live streaming? How do they
Yes.
find that?
So it's on the YouTube channel. So if they find my
Okay.
YouTube channel or the center's YouTube channel, the
Mhm.
Spiritually Integrated Arts, yep, we're there.
Wow.
That's great. Wonderful.
All right. Happy holidays.
To you
Thank
as well.
you so
to you
much.
well. Love and
Yes.
appreciate you both.
To you as well. Bye-bye.
And now for your core mental health break. This is your opportunity to take a moment to support your mental wellness, your peace of mind, your own ease and grace. Take some time every day to support your mental health. You deserve it, and it matters.
Now let's try an abbreviated EFT tapping session. So instead of going through all of the points, we'll just use the side of the hand, or what's called the karate chop point. So holding your hand up like you were going to do a karate chop, then with the other hand tapping at the side of your palm, right next to where the fleshy part of your palm is. And you just tap there with your fingertips. Tap, tap, tap. And while you're tapping, you can say, or in your mind think, some affirmations, such as, I am safe. I am okay. I am worthy. I am abundant. And that's all there is to that.
Thanks for listening to the Warrior Parent Podcast, which is a production of our nonprofit, Core Experience, who also creates and distributes Core tools. You can find us at coreexperience.org. Make sure you join us next week for another informative conversation to help you and your family show up mindfully, purposefully, and joyfully with each other and in your community.
Our Core Tools platform consists of a number of proven tools and techniques that are designed to reduce stress, anxiety, and overwhelm in spite of what's going on in your world. We want to thank Samuel Hale, LLC, for sponsoring this podcast. Technical and marketing support comes from Inspire Your Brand. Our podcast editor is Justin Beeden. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the producers, or the financial supporters. I'm Debbie DiManno.
And I'm Marci Mitchell. Thanks for listening. If you resonate with the idea of creating a community to help support kids and families, won't you join us by following the podcast and sharing this episode? You can even write a review. It truly does take a village, and we appreciate you.